Hi everyone, welcome to another IndySoft Tip Tuesday. I'm Chuck, and I hope everyone's staying safe both with COVID and anyone on the West Coast with the fires and the smoke going on. I know here in Portland we're doing our best, but without further ado, today we're going to get into the REST API and some more functionality, how you can open up the documentation, test out, start building your own apps. So this one's geared more toward devs or maybe some system admins out there. But it's about time we had one of those anyway, so let's do it. First, we're gonna run our 3-tier server setup. Make sure you're running this as admin. Of course, you can set it to always run as admin in the properties, as I've done, or you can just right click and do run as admin. And here you're gonna wanna install the service, set up your login settings for the IndySoft database, set up your port and any SSL certs you want to do. And then once all that's ready, you can start the service and test the connection to the database. We're all good there. Pop open your REST server settings. You want to enable it, of course. And you can check out your UI here. This will be your URL plus the URI of Indy data. And then Swagger UI, this is going to be the documentation where it's hosted. You can jump straight into that by clicking this here. It'll open up your default browser and take you straight away. We also have some security options. I'm going to disable that for now. We'll get back to this later and I'll show you how that works. We're going to click OK. I'm going to stop the service and restart it just because I disabled the authentication and I want to make sure those changes apply. And I'll close the browser too, just so we're working with a clean cache. So if we go into the Swagger UI, we can load up all of our functions and test them out live in the app. So if you haven't seen anything using the Swagger UI, it's super handy for getting started with building your application because you'll be able to test your commands basically in just a super vanilla environment. So to start off, we're going to go to events here, and the search bar is case sensitive. We'll go here. We have list events, create events, retrieve, update, delete, and merge. These are all included with any table. So the events table will have this. Event schedules is going to have all of these. These are all kind of automatically generated by our source code to work with any table. It'll use the primary key for any parameters that are required here. And on top of that, with any list, you can also filter using SQL. You can order by, you can skip, you can grab the top. So let's go ahead and try that out. Now we have a lot of events, so we're going to want to add a filter here. But if you wanted to, you could just execute it without a filter and get every event in the database. Like I said, we have so many, it would probably take forever if I clicked execute right now. So we're going to narrow it down to our test ABC company. So let's go ahead and start putting that out. We're going to say company, EQ for equals, no equal sign, ABC company. And that's just because it'll be included in the header and some URL formatting stuff. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we can add an and gauge SN equals 1. That's one of my gauges in the database. So it's just like SQL, except for these equals here. And you'll leave out the where. So go ahead and execute. And we get our response back. We can see there was an event run on April 21st. That's the 4th month, of course. My brain is not with it. We have more events here. This one was done in May. Basically, it just pulls every event done for that gauge. And you can take this and look at the data and say, okay, now I know I want all the events on a specific date. So you can take the event date and add that to your clause here. If you know the database already, that's not super helpful for you to do because you can already just off the top of your head type out the exact filter you want. But if you're just starting out, it's really handy to go through here and see what these fields are called in the back end and see the values with them, so you can say, oh, okay, I'm seeing, a handful of these with the start date on a specific time. So go ahead and add that to your filter if that is what you're looking for. There's not a whole lot else we can do here. Oh, I can show you real quick this request URL. This will be super handy for just copying and pasting right into Postman. So let's take our authentication off, no auth, and give ourselves the new URL and go ahead and send that. So that's just a really simple way to generate the exact command you're looking for. You don't need to put this in Postman. You can do it with whatever is going to be sending it. Postman is just a really common thing people use for testing out this type of thing. And if you have something that's using the command line and just sending it through straight curl, you can even copy this right here. So now let's jump into authentication. So we'll close this down and re-enable our security. We'll click OK and stop and start the service to apply our changes. Okay. Now what we're going to do, let me start up the browser again. What you're going to want to do to authenticate is use a command called login service. Once this is loaded, I'll show you where that is. This one is camel cased. It's not all caps like the database table ones are. So open that up. We go to post and try it out. This will accept an IndySoft username and password and authenticate you. And if you have the right property set, it will let you use the API. We'll go back to those properties in a minute. They're very important. So our user is going to be IndySoft because I am super secure and I keep the default for everything. And we're going to go ahead and execute. So this one will run without any header authentication, just so we can get our token for future requests. So you're going to want to copy everything inside these quotation marks. You don't want to include them. So go ahead and copy that. Go to authorize and type bearer, space, and your token. Don't type anything else. Just click authorize and close, and you should be good for all of your future requests. Now, like I said, you'll want to make sure that your security settings are set properly. So in the user profile manager, underneath blocking access to utilities, we'll go back to the top here, just so you can see the drill down. System admin, because IndySoft is a system admin profile. Open that, drop down blocking access to utilities, and all the way at the bottom, we have block user from Indy Data REST API. That will be checked by default. You want to uncheck it for any profile that you want to have access. Probably your system admins, maybe techs or chief metrologists or whatever you have that is going to be using this. Go ahead and make sure that's unchecked and you should be good to go. Now back to our Swagger UI. We'll jump back into events. Open this. Try it out with our filter again. I'm going to do it the quick way this time because I don't think I have one gauge in any other company. And there we go. We are now authenticated and we can make the request. Now in Postman, if you're going to be using this, if you've never used Postman, I do highly recommend it for testing this type of thing out. And if you're not familiar with how to authenticate in there, you can go to authorization on the tab here. Go to bearer token because that's what we're using. And instead of typing bearer and then pasting the thing, you're just going to paste the thing. You do the thing, you go to your params, you copy your request URL, paste it, send, and you're good. One other thing, so if you have anything that takes a JSON body as the information that you're passing in, we'll go ahead and do the login service because that's a pretty good example of a JSON query, not JSON query, JSON object you need to pass in. We'll take the authorization off. Go back to login service because I'm lazy and like to copy and paste. Copy that. And you want to go to body and raw and paste it in there. You can also do it with HTML or XML or JavaScript. JSON is probably the most common one. I see XML a lot too, but everything in the Swagger UI will use JSON, so that's probably what you want to stick with. Go ahead and send that. Actually, don't send that because, of course, we need the right URL. Paste. This is another trick. It's not a get, it's a post. For the login service, it's actually a post. Okay, now we have our token. We can copy, and just like we did before, go to bearer, put in our token, and we are good for future requests. And just to demonstrate that one more time. Oh, I forgot. You want to take off your body. There we go. Everything else uses the header. Invalid JSON parser state. Filter, GageSN, authorization. Oh, of course. Change it back to get. There we go. And there you have it. That's the quickest rundown of the REST API that I could possibly give you. There's a lot more you can do with it, and of course you'll be able to build your own apps and use any function that's in there. There's a lot more besides the events in the login service. As you saw, there was a huge list of anything that you could think of to grab. And if you have any specific requests for JSON queries, you can go ahead and put in a request for one of those. So if you wanted a specific request to get, for example, we had one recently, invoices that are ready to export. So we have just a simple command that you don't need to pass in any filters to. You just run invoices for export. It gives you everything that is ready to export. So if you have anything that you think is super useful and would save a lot of time, you can drop a request and we can add in those commands and get them out in the next build. Anyways, I hope you found this informative and you can use it. Until next week, happy calibrating.